stretching. Is stretching bad for you as an athlete? Is it good for you as an athlete? You might be saying, well, how can stretching be bad? I thought the looser we are, the better. For the general population, maybe so. For us as athletes, maybe not. We'll talk about that a little bit in a second. My name is Seth Thomas. This is Superior Athletes, helping you guys become better athletes for your sport. Before we get deeper into the video, if you guys are interested in my bodyweight vertical jump trading program, I am now giving that out to you guys for free. So if you're interested in that, make sure to comment down below, inches anywhere. Make sure to give this video a like and also make sure you're subscribed, and I will send that program over to you guys at no charge. So is static stretching bad? Is it bad for us as athletes, or can this actually increase our overall performance? Is this the best way to go about flexibility and mobility? So in general, in a wide range, stretching is very good for the body. Static stretching. Whenever I say static stretching, I'm talking about sit and reach, reach and hold, really just lengthening out the muscles and tendons, just lengthening them. That's it. And having the goal of increased range of motion. That's what static stretching is all about, increased range of motion. Now, it sounds good, right? It's like, well, I thought that's what we wanted. We don't want tight muscles because we don't want to pull things. We don't want to strain muscles, and we don't want to do this. That's all good and everything. The problem with static stretching is whenever we're holding in a position, our muscles are not contracted. We're pulling them apart. They're not contracted. They're not engaged. So what that means is we're not activating in those positions. So what I mean by that, let me try to paint a picture for you guys. Whenever we're on the court, on the basketball court, whenever we're in these certain angles, yes, our body, we have that range now. We're able to get a bigger stride, right? Maybe that was our problem. Our hips were super tight. We got that flexibility going. Now we have that stride. The problem is we wasn't working on activating while we were in that stretched out position. Whenever we are running and in the stride, now we have more range, but we don't have the strength to sustain that range because we was not in that activating state. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys, but that's where the problem lies with just static stretching. Now let's say you have a really, really bad case of like just real tightness. You're tight all over the place. Let's just say you're tight, your quads are tight, your glutes are tight. You need to work on stretching. That's totally fine and everything. That's cool. But where the problem is going to lie, and just to kind of piggyback off of what I was saying, is too much flexibility can be a bad thing in certain sports. Basketball is one of them. All right. So whenever you're too flexible, let's say your muscles are just super loose. You're really loose, you can move quick, feel good, and all that stuff. But the problem is activating, like I was saying earlier. But it's harder for them to contract. So whenever you land, rather than, your muscles are still going to contract and everything still, but they're not going to as well. So you have that flexibility, you have that looseness in the muscle, and then that's going to put all of the stress and all of the force to the joint. That's where you see a lot of these ACL tears and ligament tears, ligament injuries, because maybe they got a lot of flexibility, but they don't have that activation flexibility, that mobility. And also, I do want to note that people that are way more looser flexibility-wise and muscle-wise, they typically aren't as explosive. They aren't able to jump as high. They aren't as fast. You just think about back to that activating the muscle. If it's harder for your muscle to activate, the fast twitch fibers don't fire as well, So it's just, just think about it like that. It's just harder for the muscle to activate through certain movements. That's what it is. So what's the solution to this? Well, it's to get in these positions, find ways to put the body at a challenging position flexibility wise, but be activating at the same time. So maybe get into a really bad looking lunge. Lunge forward with your back leg straight. Let's say we're working on the hip flexors or the hip adductors. That's what that's going to work on. You're in that flexibility state, but you're activating at the same time. So maybe do rep out lunges like that. You're pushing the boundaries on the stretchiness of that movement, but you're building that strength pattern in that movement at the same time. So that's going to be much better for the body and much better whenever we go into the games and translate things on the court. It's not going to put you in a much more dangerous place than what just static stretching would be. You know, if you're working on the adductors, we'll go back to the adductors position. Maybe you need to do some sumo squats. So really forcing the knees out. I get people all the time. It's like, man, that's just like, it's so uncomfortable to be in. But that's exactly what this is working. So it's uncomfortable to be in, but you're working on that strength while working on that mobility in the hips. So that's just something to take note of. That's just something to think about whenever you are working on things like flexibility, mobility. It's not about just sit and reach, static stretching. It's good to have that range and that range of motion, but we got to do it the right way. So hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. Click the bell to get notified for each one of my videos, and I will see you guys next time.